Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar from me in a slightly dreary Hastings today, and happy Volunteers Week to you all. It's just gone 1 o'clock, so I'm just going to give everyone a chance to join. Do feel free to drop into the Q&A box and say hello. We've disabled the chat feature as it can cause problems for some people using screen readers, but the Q&A option is still live. So you can see the numbers going up. Glad you could all make it today. We'll just leave it a few more moments. But like I say, do feel free to drop into the Q&A box and say hello, where you're from. Hello, George. Hiya. Glad you could make it. Hi, Anita in Shaftesbury. Okay, I think we've got a few more people that have joined now, so I think we'll make a start. So hello everyone, welcome to our webinar, How to Get Help with Your Digital Devices. We're joined with BT Group today. As I've mentioned, it's Volunteers Week this week, so for anybody who's just joining, happy Volunteers Week. It's a great opportunity to shine a light on the amazing work of all our volunteers. And you might have seen in the news recently that World Cup legend Sir Geoff Hurst has been helping to encourage older people to boost digital skills. So we'll be sharing more on that later and how our volunteers and free resources can help you. I'm Annie Mannion and I'm Digital Marketing Manager at AbilityNet, and I'll be running you through today's session. So just to go through a few bits of housekeeping, we have live captions today provided by MyClearText, and Patricia is in the background working on those. You can turn those on using the CC option on the control panel, and additional captions are available via streamtext.net/player?event equals AbilityNet. And you can also download the slides for today if you wish and follow along. You can download them from abilitynet.org.uk/volunteersweek 2024. And if you have any technical issues or you need to leave early, don't worry, you'll receive an email within the next week sharing the recording, the transcript and the slides. And then just depending on how you joined the webinar, you'll find a Q&A window. So if you want to ask the panel any questions, do drop those in the Q&A area. And any that we're unable to cover in today's session, we'll try to answer and add them to our website at Volunteers Week 2024 page as well. And then just a reminder, we've switched off the chat feature as it can cause problems for some people using screen readers, but do use the Q&A for any comments. And then we have a feedback survey that you'll be directed to at the end, so do complete that if you're able. So just to introduce AbilityNet, for those of you who aren't yet familiar with AbilityNet, we're now more than 25 years old, and we support older people and disabled people living with any disability or impairment to use technology to achieve their goals at home, at work and in education. And we do this by providing specialist advice, accessibility testing and training, and free information like our fact sheets and this webinar. So today, discussing how to get free help with your digital devices, we have joining us Alex Barker, who is disability consultant with AbilityNet and whose birthday it happens to be today. So happy birthday, Alex, and thanks so much for sharing your knowledge today, especially. And maybe we'll manage to sing you happy birthday at the end. We'll see.
Okay.
And also joining us is Amy Caton, who is Senior Manager Digital Talent and Impact at BT Group, and she'll be sharing how BT Group and AbilityNet have been working together to boost the digital skills of older people. And then finally we have Simon Lipinski, who is Contract Manager in the Client Service Management Business Team at BT Group, and also one of our 450 plus strong team of amazing AbilityNet Tech volunteers. So welcome all of you, and we hope by the end of today you'll have learned key ways you can get free help from AbilityNet to meet your needs. So I'm just going to start with a poll to find out a bit more about you all here today. So I'll just launch that now. So you should be able to see that on screen. And if you can't, it might be due to the way that you've joined the webinar, but you can respond in the Q&A panel. So how confident do you feel using technology? Are you very confident, okay with some devices, not confident or not at all confident or not applicable? So I'll just leave it a bit of time for everybody to respond. See some fairly confident responses coming through, which is good. Okay, just a few more moments for everybody to respond. Okay, and I'm going to end the poll now. And just sharing the results. So top is I'm okay with some devices at 41%, then 35% say you're confident, 14% are very confident, which is great, 6% not confident, 3% not at all confident, and then 1% not applicable. So just move the poll there. So yeah, thanks for your responses, and we've got some great advice coming up to help boost your confidence with tech further. So now to introduce Alex Barker, who'll be outlining how AbilityNet can help you with some simple ways to learn how to use your devices. Plus, he'll be sharing a brief introduction to AI and some advice about avoiding scams. So over to you, Alex.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So if we could have the next slide, please, that would be great. Thanks. So firstly, I want to talk to you about the wonderful free resources we've got. So we have a network of 500 volunteers who can solve IT issues, and they can do this either remotely, online, or in person. We've got fact sheets, webinars, and how-to guides are all on our website. We have got some great resources on our My Computer, My Way website, and more about that in a while. We also work with a lot of organisations to get devices which have been donated by large companies out to clients. And we've got some really insightful and interesting news and blogs on our website. Next slide, please. Okay, so when I do this, I always start off by telling people a little bit about me. I think it's really important to get an idea of where I come from. So I've worked for AbilityNet for more than 20 years. When I started, I didn't have grey hair, and as you can see, I still don't have that much grey hair. And I've got a rare condition called Moebius syndrome. So I've only got 2 fingers on each hand, and I have a paralysed face. I cannot show emotion. And for me, technology has changed my life. Without technology, I wouldn't have a job, I wouldn't have gone to university, and I certainly wouldn't have studied abroad, both in the USA and in Sweden. And I met my wife online, and she's got the same disability as me. We met on Facebook, and she lived in North Carolina in the States, and she moved to Coventry in 2018 when we got married. We were an internet sensation for 15 minutes. And I know what it's like to struggle to get my work down, and that's one of the reasons that I feel that I can relate to clients really well. Next slide, please. So what is assistive technology? And it's quite hard to actually nail down what it is, but the government have come up with a really useful definition. So the phrase assistive technology is often used to describe products or systems that support and assist individuals with disabilities, restricted mobility, or other impairments to perform functions that might otherwise be difficult or impossible. Next slide, please. So, first thing that people often say to me when I tell them what I do on assistive technology is they say, I've heard that assistive technology is really, really expensive. And I have to say, in some cases, you're right, but in a lot of cases, you can use the built-in technology on your device. And I shall show you how. Next slide, please. So that is our front holding page for My Computer My Way. And you can search on condition, you can search on the version of operating system you're using. You can even search on the sort of difficulty that you've got and so on. So if you go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so the main four types of disability it supports are vision, so seeing the screen or making text bigger, so hearing the sound. Motor is using a mouse or a keyboard, and cognitive is difficulties reading, spelling and understanding. So next slide, please. So let's have a look at one of the most commonest requests we get. Someone's trying to support their granddad or their uncle, and they've got Parkinson's. And one of the difficulties is that when you hold the key down for too long, you get absolutely loads and loads and loads of characters. And when you try and get rid of them, you end up getting rid of lots of the characters as well. However, turning filter keys on can make it so much easier. You can have your finger on a key on the keyboard for as long as you want, and you will only get one character. On a Mac, it's also called slow. It's called slow keys as well. Next slide, please. And if you've got a really good voice, or if you've got a voice like mine, you can set voice recognition up. And voice recognition is great because it will allow you to dictate documents and emails and control the computer. Again, it's a step-by-step instruction sheet, and it should take you about 10 minutes to set voice recognition up. Just to make it clear though, the more time you practice on voice recognition, the better you're going to get. Next slide, please. So a lot of people are unaware that if you have got a Bluetooth mouse or a Bluetooth keyboard for that matter, you can connect it to an iPad. And for some people, although an iPad's a touch-based screen operating system, you can use a mouse fairly easily on a Mac. In fact, you can actually use a rollable as well, as long as it's a Bluetooth device. So next slide, please. This is one of the things that I like. To help people with independence, if they're dyslexic, for example, you can have text read out to you on a device, and what's more is you can change the way that the voice sounds, and although it still sounds quite robotic, it can help you get the gist of an email or of a web page that you're on. Next slide, please. We have got about 28 or 30 fact sheets on a wide range of subjects. We've even got some easy read versions available. So we've got a fact sheet on how to use the computer if you've got Parkinson's, or how to use the computer if you are neurodiverse. We've also got information on how to use the computer if you only got one hand, or use of one hand and one arm. They're free to download, so please feel free to go and have a look at our fact sheets. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are all sorts of different bits of hardware. We've got a rollable, we've got a standard mouse, we've got a compact keyboard, we've got a set of switches, and we've got a specialized mouse, and I think it's pronounced Quaha. And basically, you can control a mouse on a screen with your head. And what we'd always say is there are many companies that can offer equipment to trial on a sale or return basis. Try it out before you commit to it, so you can see for yourself or your client can whether it's going to be useful or not. And you can always contact us for details. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are many different bits of software. So for example, there's Dragon Naturally Speaking, top left, bottom left, there is Spoken AAC, so you can communicate using your iPad if you're non-verbal, or so we've got M&D, for example. You can actually use an on-screen keyboard on the right-hand side, so you can bring it up and use it as a mouse. You've got something called Siri, which is in the middle, which is built onto any Apple devices. So, for example, you can just do a command using your voice. So if I wanted to know what the weather was like in Coventry today, I can ask it, what is the weather in Coventry?
It's currently cloudy and 16 degrees in Coventry.
Okay, so it's currently cloudy and 16 degrees in Coventry. I could send a message to my wife, or I could call my dad or mum just by using my voice, and it is well worth getting to grips with. If you've got an Android device, you've got that same functionality as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the big hot tech topics is scans and AI, and you know what, we're really aware that lots of people are worried about scans and AI, and we want to put some resources together. So next slide, please. Okay, so first of all, what's AI? AI is artificial intelligence, and it's basically computer technology that can do things that normally require human intelligence. It's also doing lots of things that we take for granted. Finding information and even having conversations with us. For example, using Alexa on Amazon or Siri on Apple. Next slide, please. Here are some to try. So we've got Copilot, we've got Gemini, which was Bard, developed by Google. We've got ChatGPT, and we've got image creation tools. So for example, with an image creation tool, I could ask it to create a picture of a cat riding a bicycle, and it would go off and do some research as to what a cat looked like, what a bicycle looked like, and put them both together. I think it's really, really interesting to see what AI can do. Next slide, please. Right, so lots of scans are around, and You can access resources at AbilityNet for guidance around scams. And I would also go to the Consumer Association magazine called Wits, because they have lots of information about scams to be concerned about. You don't have to be scared by scams. You've just got to make sure that you know about scams and how not to get scammed. So next slide, please. So first of all, take a moment before giving information or your money away. Challenge information. Is it legitimate? Could it be fake? Do you feel that you have been rushed to part with your money or information? If in doubt, stop and ask a friend, relative, or family member. And you can use Ask Silver on WhatsApp to check if you have received a scam email. This is AI in action. So basically, you can take a screenshot of a scam email, you can send it to Ask Silver, and Ask Silver will come back and it will let you know whether it thinks it is a scam or not. And it will also give you some useful information. Next slide, please. So here's how to contact us. You can call us on 0300 180 0028. You can drop me an email to alex.barker@abilitynet.org.uk, and we've got the link where you can get technical support and help. But if you need any help, please drop me an email. I'll be happy to help you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Alex. Yeah, just a whistle-stop tour of great ideas and advice, and hopefully that's given everyone a good grounding of some of the support options that AbilityNet can provide as well. So yeah, if you do want to get in contact, do give us a call on 0300 180 0028. So now I'd like to introduce Amy Caton from BT Group, and she's going to share how BT Group's been working with AbilityNet to help boost the digital skills of older people. Hi, Amy.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. So our purpose, our company purpose at BT Group is to connect for good. So that really drives a lot of what we do. And as Annie said, one of the key groups of people that we want to support is those over 65s. And we want to really boost people's digital skills, but also confidence, ability to stay safe online, and just really the opportunity for people to get the most out of the world online and all that it offers. So we've been working with AbilityNet for a bit over a year to do that, and we're well on our way to reaching 5,000 people. And we're focusing kind of one-to-one and small group training in the different regions that you can see on the screen. But obviously we're supporting things like these webinars and different campaigns to sort of spread the word more widely across the UK. One of the things that we've done together is create some fact sheets. We've got about 20 different topics. They are on the BT website, so our bt.com/senior skills, but you can also access them through the AbilityNet website as well. I know Alex mentioned lots of different fact sheets that you can get your hands on as well, so they're all there on different topics. And we recognized that it was quite useful not only to provide something for people who wanted to upskill themselves, but actually for volunteers who wanted to support other people, but sometimes you don't know where to start or what level to pitch it at. So we've got two versions of each fact sheet, one for the volunteer to talk their learner through, and then a copy that the learner can keep and maybe refer back to when the person supporting them isn't there, so that they can keep making progress in their own time. Essentially, the ethos is we want to give people that introduction to tech in a really safe environment, help them build their confidence, and that's where the kind of the small group or repeated session comes in, to build that confidence over time, to get people to a point where they feel like they're thriving in the digital world and able to do whatever it is they want, whether that is just a really small, specific couple of things, or whether it opens a door and then they discover there's loads of stuff that they want to do. We are seeing the value and we're hearing the case studies through our work with AbilityNet, but we know that it's not just the over 65s that can benefit from this program, but it's actually our BT Group colleagues as well. And we're quite reliant on them for different programs that we run to go out and help deliver and get things off the ground. And this is no exception. So we have been busily recruiting over the past year volunteers from all parts of the business and all different parts across the country. Because we know that, yes, it helps us reach more people, but also it gets our employees feeling more engaged, more positive, and it helps them develop their own skills and confidence as well. And I can speak from experience, like you'll hear much more from Simon, who I will let speak and share his experiences in a second, but I'm not the kind of person to sit and help run a program, but not get involved myself. So I signed up. I'm an AbilityNet volunteer as well. I've had a couple of sessions recently with my first person that I've been matched with, and it's one of the best hours of my week. Honestly, it's so nice to connect with somebody. She every week she has a list of different things that she wants to cover, which is great. So we can just work through that. It's very driven by what she wants to learn. We take it at her pace. And I think my favorite moment was kind of partway through the first session when we were doing something and she just turned to me and she said, "Well, I must say, this is really rather fun." And she was quite surprised. I think she didn't expect to enjoy the session. And I probably didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did either. So it definitely gives you a real warm glow, and it's helped me feel sort of more confident in addressing new people and going into different situations. But yeah, really positive stories from learners and volunteers alike. So that's just a little bit of scene setting from me about the value that we see as a corporate and why we've gotten involved in this partnership. But I will stop talking and hand over to the main event, our star witness, Simon.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, it's really been such a positive project so far, and yeah, Simon, I think, is a relatively recent AbilityNet Tech volunteer who's signed up via the BT Group project. So Simon, could you tell us about your experience as a tech volunteer so far and some of the examples of the ways you've helped older and disabled clients that you've worked with as part of the role?
No, yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. So I guess a little bit like Amy's kind of explained, getting into AbilityNet, I was approached through work. I work in contract management, so I've been at BT for about 2 years, and there was this kind of initial excitement about AbilityNet, and something that really resonated with me was kind of like the mission statement, which is, there is a drive to provide kind of inclusion, I guess, to everybody. For me personally, that really resonated because I know, first of all, being an immigrant, so I'm originally from Poland, and so when I first moved to the country, I very much relied on sort of the kindness of strangers. And so for me to be in a privileged position now where I'm sort of able-bodied and have a little bit of tech knowledge to be able to give that back to somebody felt like something that I just definitely wanted to do. My mum is also disabled, so it just sort of seemed to tie in with sort of my personal life anyway. And I think maybe from what you've heard already, I think a big emphasis for AbilityNet is to give people agency. My experience hasn't been, here, I'm going to show you how to, I'm going to fix this tech issue for you. It's been, how can I help you feel more connected? What can I do that gives you the skills to tackle this in the future so that you're not just calling back and raising more concerns, you're actually building your own kind of tech bank of skills, which I think is a really great kind of ethos to have when that this is the type of work that you want to do. So all of that kind of really spoke to me. Before you know it, you've applied, and then you're sort of out and you are sort of picking up your first ticket. And I think for me, a typical day as like a tech volunteer would be, somebody local would get, we have a ticketing system. Somebody kind of regionally close to me, a ticket would get assigned to me, and I would kind of look at the initial information, and I would then reach out to them and say, hi, I'm Simon, I work for AbilityNet. Let me understand a little bit more about the type of issue that you're facing. That gives me the opportunity to double check, is this really an area that I understand? What kind of queries do they need help with? And then I suppose it's up to me then to decide what works best. So, I need to fit it around my working life. So I will try to meet them, perhaps at the weekend or after work, preferably at their place if that's easiest for them, but also at a local library if that works. But the good thing is it's kind of on you to drive how that communication works and how best to fit it into your personal life. So you get a lot of agency with that. And, it's great because AbilityNet give you the sort of initial tools. So you're giving guidance on safeguarding and sort of being aware about the types of risks that could come with, dealing with somebody who's vulnerable. And I think that's great as well, because, you're sort of, you understand why you're there from a higher perspective almost. So for example, I quite recently dealt with an elderly gentleman who had quite severe MS, for example. I hadn't really sort of been in that situation before, but I sort of turned up to his place and worked with him to reset some Alexa devices. And that was a really kind of fun experience. We were sort of chatting and laughing, and I think, to be honest with you, the Alexa device issue turned out to be way more complicated than I was expecting. And with AbilityNet, we've got access to a community, so I knew I could take that query back and work with them and come back and try and fix it. But I was feeling quite guilty, but we were just chatting, and I felt that even if I'm not able to help this issue right now, I wanted them to feel supported, and I wanted them to feel like it's okay, I'm not just going to not come back, we'll try and fix this. And just before I left, he paused and he said, like, I could tell that you're a little bit down, that you couldn't help me with my Alexa issue, but actually just being able to be here with you for an hour, and you're smiling and you're chatting, and it's made my day a bit more interesting. Like, I already feel like I've had so much value out of this interaction, which really spoke to me, because I feel like when you could start out with something like this, you might not always feel that you have all of the tech knowledge that you would assume you would need, right? I think sometimes people do come in and think, oh God, do I have to be really techie? And I would say no. I think there's loads of support and there's lots of opportunities for learning if you wanted to, but actually it's all about your attitude, and it's often what speaks to people when you're interacting with them. They appreciate your help, but I think if you go in with a really core intention, then that ends up what builds that connection with that client. And a bit like Amy said, like, you do go back and you sort of repeat visit, or you kind of maybe sometimes develop a relationship afterwards, because you realize that there's so much more to this person. So yeah, so a typical day. And I think if you're somebody who is thinking about volunteering, for me personally and professionally, it's opened so many doors. So when I first started volunteering, I was sort of working through with clients and picking up tickets, and kind of, also trying to raise the profile of the charity in my local area, so that people know, oh, we are here, there's a presence, I'm local to you, and I can connect with you. And then I'm finding myself just discussing the charity with people. And I don't know if I was always bad at networking, but I think especially with COVID, you feel a bit anxious kind of just talking to people, and especially about topics that you're not always familiar with. And so that started to bring out my confidence. And so then when I'm on a work call with somebody I've never met before and I'm feeling a bit anxious, actually it just starts, you just kind of get on with it, because I almost got to practice that skill whilst volunteering. which has been great. Since then, I've been able to take on a bit of a coordinator role. So I'm Liverpool based now, and AbilityNet kindly offered for me to take on more of a leadership position so that I could help other volunteers who are in the region, drive initiatives to raise awareness. And I find that just incredible, because then at work, I can sort of say I've got some leadership experience, and with the way that my professional area sort of works, I think that kind of really sort of speaks volumes about my kind of soft skill set, which is really, really great. So I think, you don't know where you're going to end up is one thing I would say. I think you don't have to be techie, that's absolutely for sure, because your attitude really makes a difference, and you sort of kind of pick things up as you go. Again, from experience, you're not dealing with things that are incredibly difficult. What you'll be helping somebody with their device, or helping them navigate the internet a bit more safely. Again, I had a chap who was really concerned because he thought that his granddaughter had put a picture of his underwear on the internet. And I was like, okay, it was about 73. And I said, look, let's just take a look. I'm sure she didn't mean to, but we'll take a look. Maybe I can look at, offering you some advice about what to do. So let's take a look. And I've seen that he points to a closed WhatsApp group with his family. And he said, this is what I mean. And I said, no. If the picture is in a WhatsApp group, in a private messaging chat, you don't, it doesn't mean anybody can just see your underwear that's on the internet. And I think for me, it reminded me that there are so many assumptions that I have about internet use that just may not be true for everybody. That really taught me not to go in and assume that people have the same level of understanding as you do. And I think, I say this, I feel like sometimes volunteering can be a bit like the gym. You finish work, you're tired, you've got chores when you get home. If it's the winter, it's dark. But it is a little bit like the gym, because actually you don't always love going into it, but by the end, you're feeling so energized, you feel fulfilled. It feels like 30 minutes or an hour of your day, and it's made such like a difference to your well-being, to how you feel about yourself. And I just think it's worth its weight in gold. So yeah, really, really great. And I think for the clients that I work with, I think one thing I've learned that's really stood out to me is that age really is just a number. I can see that there's no shortness of willingness to learn. I've never come across somebody that is sort of really kind of set in their ways. I think people want to learn, people want to be shown how they can do this, and how they can take that skill and build with it, and then seeing their confidence grow, seeing them being able to like communicate with family members better, or just interact their daily lives with a bit more confidence and feeling a little bit less nervous, I think is so great. So yeah, I think if you haven't thought about it before, I would definitely recommend it. But that's kind of just like a bit of a snapshot of my experience. So yeah, I don't know if you've got any questions, Annie, but that's kind of what I was going to cover.
No, that's amazing. And like somebody has put in the Q&As, that they love your enthusiasm and your passion for it, and it really shines through. And it's great to hear about the really rewarding and valuable experiences for both volunteers and clients alike. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Yeah, thank you.
So just before I share some more resources with you, just a quick reminder, a few people have asked, you can access the slides and the transcript and the recording. They'll be on the webinar page, abilitynet.org.uk/volunteers week 2024, and we'll share those with you on an email in a few days' time as well. So thanks again, Simon and Amy. So just as mentioned earlier, many of you would have seen some of the recent media coverage of World Cup legend Sir Geoff Hurst, and may have joined this webinar from the back of seeing that coverage. So he's been sharing how he's been helping AbilityNet and BT Group encourage older people to enhance their digital skills. So we've got a little video to show how Geoff was involved with working with AbilityNet Tech volunteers and encouraging people in the Bristol area about how to embrace technology and particularly avoid online scams. So Kelly, if you can please play that video, that would be great.
I struggle all the time with learning tech. It's really difficult to get a handle on, especially when there's not an awful lot of backup and places you can go with other people. I think that's a big barrier to people my age, because it's almost like you're supposed to know a language, but you never learnt it at school or anything like it at school. I've been targeted by scams. I hope that I get to spot them. My mum gets them all the time on the phone, so she just slams the phone down. I've been playing walking football with Bristol City for about 10 years. You just meet other people that you wouldn't have met in your life otherwise.
I'm here today with BT Group and AbilityNet to surprise Bristol FC's walking football team with a digital skills session. It's hard to do without technology these days, so we all need to embrace it as we get older. Great to see you all. Yeah. Fantastic to be here. Teamwork's very important in all these digital skills which we need to learn and to know. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, because I'm useless at it as well.
I think the difficulty is, for most of us, is you get very nervous about looking at the internet, as we know. And of course, very importantly, scams are such a terrible part.
We are going to do a session called Staying Safer Online. Everybody knows,
At BT Group, our purpose is to connect for good and tackle digital inclusion. As part of that, we want to help older people and those who are digitally excluded develop the skills and the confidence to stay safe online and make the most of life in the online world.
It's a really great session because it's quite interactive, so it was great to see them understanding that they weren't alone. Both BT Group and AbilityNet are working in partnership to make sure that everybody over age 65 has access to free digital skills from our trainers.
The online safety talk was very interesting. Just look a little bit more deeply and look for clues as to, is this genuine or isn't it?
Like everybody in this country, I'm fully aware it's not hard to detect that there are scams out there every day. They identify what the scams look like, what to look for, how to deal with them. It's fantastic. It's great that these sessions are free with the BT Group and AbilityNet.
So thanks Kelly, and thanks to all the volunteers involved, and of course to Sir Geoff too, if you're watching. We've also will share in our useful resources that are uploaded to the webpage Volunteers Week 2024, Geoff's hat trick of tech tips for seniors video, along with some other bite-sized video tips that you can view at your leisure. And yeah, just to share a little bit more about the BT Digital Skills Project, a reminder that we've got opportunities for free in-person digital skills support as part of this, available to people 65 years and older in Birmingham, London, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Cardiff and surrounding areas. And you can find out more at /BT Digital Skills. And the kind of training that you can ask for includes staying safer online, using social media, accessing public services, banking, shopping online, and more. So do get in touch. And BT Group and AbilityNet also worked with Countdown Susie Dent, who you might recognise, to create a special digital dictionary that you can download. So again, we'll share the link within the slides and on the webpage. And there are also bite-sized videos that I mentioned just now, in addition to Geoff Hurst's tech tips. So I'm sure you've all got a lot of questions that to ask the panel, so do fire away in the Q&A window. I doubt we managed to cover everything right now. So any unanswered questions we'll put on our website, and you'll be sent a link to access them. So just looking at the questions that have come through so far. There's a question from Lucy. Are there any guides on supporting people with learning disabilities to stay safe from harm on their devices and the internet? Or are they more centred around the practicalities of using devices? This one might be one that Alex has got some experience in particular of discussing.
Sure. Hi, Lucy, thanks for your question. I guess that when you're dealing with people with learning disabilities, it's really, really important not to think that one size is going to fit all. We've done some work with learning disabilities in the past, and what we've found is that you've got to try and engage with them on their level, and if that is by producing information in easy read, if that is by just giving people really little bite-sized chunks of information, that's the way to present it. What I can do is, if you care to drop me an email afterwards, I can point you towards some really useful resources that we've used.
Okay, great, thank you. And just as a reminder, Alex's email is alex.barker, B-A-R-K-E-R, at abilitynet.org.uk, and we'll share those on the resources on the web page as well. So another question that's come through, can you recommend any voice-to-text software which recognises unclear speech? This might be something, Simon, you've come across as part of your training with AbilityNet, or that you know about already anyway.
Sorry, I'll be honest, I don't think I have.
That's fine.
But they're definitely, yeah. I don't know if Alex, you can help me with this one, but because I definitely think there will be some. I actually think ChatGPT is a really good tool because it's really great at recognizing speech patterns. And I think right now, I think they've recently rolled out a change so that even if you're not like a paid subscriber, that you have ChatGPT Omni access. And that is, I guess, like a next gen version of it, which is really good. I've seen it used where perhaps, you know, somebody's writing is quite unclear and you take a picture of it, it can sort of fill in the gaps. So I've not seen it applied in that way, but I would definitely recommend giving that a go, because you can download it through the app on your phone, and you could just speak into it. And the great thing about ChatGPT is you have a lot of flexibility with what you ask it. So I would give that a go. But we can certainly take away and look at some of the other resources we've got.
No, I think more with assignment. I think the other thing to look at is you programming an app, and it's called Project Relate, and on their website it talks about people with unclear speech being able to actually get more from voice recognition. It's a communication app for people with non-standard speech, and it is really good for transcribing text, repeating speech, or engaging with Google Assistants. And I've just put the link into the chat, and it might be worthwhile having a look at it, or just doing a search for Google Relate.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, we'll share the link again within the resources, but it's called Project Relate, and we'll try to put that in the Q&A as well. And then just other questions that have come through. One moment. So Shabir is asking, how do I enroll for one-to-one sessions for practical help? So the BT digital skills sessions, if you look at abilitynet.org.uk/BT digital skills, and again that information will be sent through to you. Then you can have a look and sign up. And if it's not within your area, you can also speak to AbilityNet about having one of our tech volunteers come and chat with you separately about that. Any tech issues that you have. What other questions have just come through? We had one that came through before about, do you have any suggestions for how to persuade reluctant relatives or friends about the benefits that they might get from using tech? Perhaps if they're scared or unsure about the benefits it might bring to them. Not sure, again, Amy and Simon, from your volunteering, whether that kind of question has come up for you before.
I think it's about finding the motivation for the individual, and for some people that will be being part of a family WhatsApp group and seeing pictures of their grandkids, or being able to Skype with somebody who lives abroad or something like that. For some people it might be more around being able to book a doctor's appointment online and be able to get access to healthcare more easily. So I think having a conversation with somebody about, you know, what would make their life easier is sometimes the key to sort of overcoming. It's maybe not a quick route to overcoming the resistance, but just to start planting that seed of actually the improvements and how life can be easier and better, and sometimes just more fun. So I think it's very individualized and involves, yeah, open questions and a lot of listening, really.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Simon.
I was just going to say, yeah, I guess to build on that, like I've noticed, for example, you'll have, I remember one client, he managed to get access through working online to a community. He had quite a niche hobby. It was something to do with butterflies, but he sort of found a sort of community of sort of like-minded people. And I don't think that he realized that this kind of this access, or this sort of getting through this little barrier, this communication barrier, actually opened so many doors for him to sort of communicating with the people. So I guess it's kind of helping them understand that it does open doors for you. And yeah, you know, there will be a barrier, that there will be something, but I think more often than not, it will be an assumption that they've made. It's probably not quite true. And it's probably quite simple as well. And once you kind of find out what that is, whether it's, oh, maybe the internet isn't really safe, or I don't really know how to do it, and you perhaps turn it on it a little bit, and you sort of remind them that there are other areas of their life where they display that skill absolutely comfortably, then you kind of help them understand that you just kind of transfer that into this space. So with a bit of guidance, it's not that, you know, that difficult. So I guess it's just trying to connect the dots a little bit. So yeah,
I think that's a good point about staying safe online. I think that's a big concern for a lot of people. And also just telling people it's really hard to break or damage a device just by clicking. Like, it's really, there's not much that you can't undo by just going back or home and starting again. And I think that's a concern that some people have as well, that, you know, they don't want to break it. Wow, it's really difficult to mess something up unless you're like drop kicking it in frustration. You know, it's quite hard to do that.
I would add to what Simon and Amy have said, and it's about hooking people in. It's about finding what their hobbies are. It's about finding what sort of music they like, or if they want to watch videos of fluffy kittens or puppies. It's just about getting them to take that first step, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a question for Alex from Karen. I think she's looking for advice about setting up a Windows machine for the first time, and about setting up Wi-Fi for printers, and looking for, you know, a sort of guidance or step-by-step sheet to explain how to do that in plain language. I know we have a lot of fact sheets that explain that, and also My Computer My Way that you were discussing earlier. But perhaps you could just share a little bit more about how to access that and other benefits that it brings.
So if you drop me an email, I can send you some instructions on how to set your Wi-Fi printer up. Simply, there will always tend to be a startup guide for setting up a printer. Sometimes, or most of the time, it is written in technical language, but if you contact me, I would be able to break it down and make sure that you are able to sort your printer out. And of course, if you get stuck, you can always rely on one of our wonderful volunteers to come out and support you.
Yes, thank you. We've got one final question, which kind of leads on to some of what you've already mentioned, and particularly Amy, when you were talking about fears about breaking things. And just somebody has asked, do you have any tips about how to encourage tech use while making people aware of how to stay safe online, or safer, without scaremongering? So, you know, there's lots of advice, some of which Alex touched upon earlier and that we've got available on our website. But if you have anything in particular to share about that. For any of you, not just Amy.
Yeah. I think it kind of, I would sort of reiterate some of what we've said about it. If you're looking to encourage the use, again, it's finding the hook, what are people interested in? And then I suppose you can talk around scams and help people just practice identifying things so that they're less worried that they're going to be caught off guard when they are accessing the things that they enjoy online. And yeah, just trying to make it seem a bit less scary, really. And build. I think that's the way to build confidence, isn't it? It's a bit of practice. It's a bit of talking through, helping with understanding.
Yeah.
I always think, sorry, a great benchmark is, would you do this if you were sort of walking down the street, right? If suddenly you are sort of giving away you wouldn't give your card details away to a stranger that's just approached you on the street, right? So if you find yourself being asked for bank details and you're not really sure why, that would be a great benchmark. If you wouldn't necessarily, there's certain things I think that would feel unsafe if you were sort of navigating live, that I think because we're online, we think maybe that it's not the same, but I would just use that as a benchmark. So you wouldn't give your card details away. You wouldn't necessarily start divulging personal information to somebody that you don't know. If you are sort of in an uncomfortable situation, I guess you kind of try to remove yourself from it, rather than get more drawn in. And, for example, if you get a suspicious email about, with questions, and you sort of respond to it, or you start to, I would just remove yourself from it. And that's slightly simplistic, but I would say, what we know even at BT is actually a lot of security issues stem from sort of human error. I think it's just not always identifying something, and actually they're actually quite simple when you think about them. I think maybe because we're online, it feels a bit different, but it's not. That would be my, and I think once you're at that level and you navigate those spaces a bit more, you start to then, I think, see the signs a bit better. And don't aim for perfectionism. Don't try and be a data hero from day one. I think that's a good starting point. And as your skills and confidence grows, I think you naturally find yourself being a bit more savvy about what looks a bit suspicious and what doesn't. And again, you wouldn't necessarily wander the street. This is maybe a bit extreme, but you wouldn't wander the street alone if you feel, so if you're online and you're thinking, oh, just ask a friend. Just I'm not sure with some things if this is okay. You're not in a vacuum when you're online. There are people you could reach out to and say, I've just been asked this really strange question, and I don't know if it's just a safe transaction. And I think that sometimes can be a big help. So
yeah, excellent advice.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody, and thank you for your questions as well. And I think it's time to wrap up the Q&A. So yeah, thank you to you all, and to Patricia with my clear text, and to my colleague Kelly for helping out in the background. So just a bit more information that might be of interest, and just a reminder about how you can get in touch, and the resources that may be of interest. We have fact sheets, webinars. You can get in contact for free tech support at /at-home, and call us on 0300 180 0028. And also just a reminder, it's Volunteers Week, so it's the perfect time to inquire about becoming a volunteer yourself. So you can find out more about that at /volunteer. And then just to anybody that's joining from an organisation or wants to learn more about digital accessibility and inclusion, we run training courses for groups in-house and also for individuals, and you can find out more at /training. Coming up, we've got hugely popular courses, particular accessible social media on the 13th of June, and accessibility for designers on the 20th of June. And then a free course, Introduction to Digital Accessibility, on the 4th of July. And then we also have courses on neurodiversity as well, hearing loss, sight loss, and physical disabilities. Finally, you can also sign up to our newsletter for advice about inclusion and accessibility, and to find out more about our next free webinars at /webinars. And coming up is dementia and simple tech tweaks that can help with Alzheimer's Society, and that's on Wednesday the 10th of July. So do sign up for that for more expert advice. So thanks again, and please do the feedback form you'll be directed to, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Bye everyone, hope to see you at the next session.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.